Dan Burke did a video yesterday about a kids movie in the States called Dear Santa. Uh, and this is definitely not a kids movie that you would want to let your kids watch. And why is that? Because the gist of this movie is a kid writes a letter to Santa, and instead of putting Santa, he puts Dear Satan, and invites Satan into his life, sends an invitation to Satan. Satan turns up, and of course Hollywood has painted Satan as this goofy thing, that grants wishes, makes us famous, and does all sorts of things for us. At least that's what you see from the trailer. I definitely won't be watching the movie, and I'm not surprised that Hollywood, is so demonic, but I am surprised that, well, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. I suppose it's just about warning people about these type of movies, and especially for kids. you know it's amazing in 2024 you never see a Hollywood movie about Saint Nicholas, the Bishop Saint Nicholas, the real Saint Nicholas. You don't see good productions that lead people to in knowing the truth. In the spiritual life, in the spiritual battle, the objective of evil, Satan, Lucifer, is to stop you having union with God. So that's his tactic. God draws you to union with him with the truth, his son. So we are drawn to union with the truth, with God, through his son, through the word that became flesh. And Satan draws us to a false union through lies. It's the opposite, it's the inversion. Satan can't create heaven. He can't create true union. And so he draws us to union with lies. He is the father of lies. And in a normal spiritual life, in a normal world of discernment, we would know how to discern his tactics. But in this era of confusion, even within our church, because so many clergy don't understand the spiritual battle. There was a heretic bishop priest in Ireland, and he told me about the scandals up and down the Catholic Church, which I don't blog about because I have no thoughts about being that type of blogger whatsoever. If people want to live their double lives, off you go and live them. You'll answer to God someday. But I was really shocked that in the Catholic Church, in like those that have supposedly given their lives to Christ, consecrated their lives, that have had their hands consecrated to Christ, I was so shocked that to see so much corruption, like real corruption. But then, we can't be shocked about what Satan does. The nearer a soul tries to arrive to union with God, the more intense Satan will work to destroy that path to union with God. And because those that feel that call to give their life to Christ, become leaders to other souls, light for other souls. And in Ireland today, we have a lot of darkness. The separation from God, this false union that Satan creates with lies, it's like two magnets. Do you ever get these two big magnets? Buy two big magnets, and you inverse the polarity, and you're trying to force them together. You ever play with this as kids, and you experience that tension that they won't come together because they're not meant to be joined together. But Satan, this is what Satan does. He wants to join two things that are not meant to be united together. And there's incredible tension, friction, heat, fire. There's no peace. It is a complete relationship with tension, and Satan would never be able to sell this false union, so he has to sell it with lies. And sadly, in the Catholic Church today, we used to have, and you can read this throughout the history of the church, there's tons of literature on discernment of towards the union with God. You read it in the Philokalia, you read it in the doctors of the church, the teachings of the church. The Christ gave us an apostolic teaching. You read it in the early church in the didact. Christ gave his followers a teaching, a way to sanctification. This is how you're supposed to act. And this is how you're supposed to not act. And if you act in the other way, you will have union with Satan. A false union, a union which deprives you of your true union. Because union with God is a union of love. It's perfect. It fulfills all of our desires, everything. And Satan will always attack those that are trying to teach that path to union with God. And that's what he's done in the church, from the very top to the bottom, is to destroy that path to union with God. Yes, you can do this and do that, and who knows? I like to think as hell is empty. No apostle ever in the history of the church, true apostle of Christ, would ever say that they like to think that hell might be empty, because it would betray Christ's own warning. You can end up there. So we cannot say with all certainty that it is empty. And then we give the impression to souls, well, look, if the leader of the Catholic Church on primetime Italian television says, well, he likes to think if hell is empty, well, sure, look, sin and all of this that the church is teaching, sure, we'll just take it as a pinch of salt, and yeah, I might do it someday and I might do it in others. But, well, the spiritual fathers warned us that the path to union with God is a fight, it's a battle. And if this is what needs to be taught to a new generation, to recognize the risks that are involved in our spiritual life. But we don't have, sadly, at the moment, our theology is moribund. It is on the floor. The concept of a spiritual battle is completely 100% absent from in our new synodal church. You read the synthesis documents in Ireland, what the doctors of the church have been teaching us about union with God, the way to union with God, is gone. When I went to Mount Athos, and I've gone to other Orthodox monasteries, Orthodox monks and nuns, they don't shy away from warning souls about the perils of the spiritual life. And they live a pretty ascetic existence, especially in Mount Athos. It's a fairly ascetic existence. Over 1,000 years of not eating meat or poultry, or eggs, or that I'm aware of. They have a pretty austere life, and they teach that path to union with God. Anyway, I'm kind of gone off on a tangent here, but it's just to bring people, and I'm no expert in this, in the sense that I'm just a lay person studying, the truths of our faith. What is this teaching of the church? What did Christ leave his apostles to do? He asked his apostles to teach their disciples the path to union with God. And that path to union with God is a path of love that will capture our intellect, our heart, our will, so that we are drawn to act, to imitate how the Master acted. And in doing that, in acting like that, we will have union with the Master. And we also have in that teaching how we are not supposed to act, so that we are not divided and we're not left having union with the other guy. A false union, a union of separation from God. And, this Christmas, we have this crazy thing about a movie coming out glorifying Satan, this false Satan, this, it is what it is. God forbid that Hollywood would ever do a Catholic or a Christian movie. Hollywood is so moribund. It is absolutely bonkers crazy what is going on. Anyway, look, if you want to have something, some people consider it fictional, about the life of Christ, read Maria Valtorta. Get out this book and read Maria Valtorta. And for your kids, there's one character in the book of Maria Valtorta's writings. There's one character that will captivate children's minds, and it is the character of Jabez, or Marjam. It's Saint Martial. This orphaned boy that becomes a child disciple with Jesus. It becomes the adopted son of St. Peter and Porphyria, St. Peter's wife. Now, some people say Maria Valtorta is, romance fiction. As a friend of mine here where I live, she calls it romance fiction. She thinks it's, it's just made up by this woman. And as the exorcist, Father Fortea, says, well, look, if you want to read it as a novel, read it as a novel. And so in that sphere, I ask people to pick out from this, to go through the chapters and pick out and read to your kids the story of Jabez, who is renamed Marjam by our Blessed Mother, and who becomes Saint Martial, ending up in France. And, you have many historic records of this saint. You can look them up. They're in the early times of the church. Is this a real story? Well, I suppose it's never going to be part of the perennial deposit of the faith. That's impossible, because the sacred scripture is what it is. But most of the sacred scripture I think there's 1,300 something chapters in the Bible, and I think 1,100 chapters of the Bible are referenced in this work of Maria Valtorta. A real genius to be able to do this, because then you're constantly reverting back to sacred scripture all the time. But that character, if you want to inspire your kids, read to them about the character of Jabez, Marjam, in the writings of Maria Valtorta. Anyway, God bless you. Take care. Bye-bye.